Hey,
Joe,
hey.
you cut it off because it always drives me nuts. How you doing, Fixie?
I'm good. Yourself? Well,
Oh, I'm good. I'm rip raring and ready to go. You have a good week this week, Fixie?
yeah, really good. I actually don't cut it off. I just bring us in early, so maybe
Mhm.
the song cuts off earlier than you expected.
We're gonna have to fix that. So, at any rate, we got five people watching. Hello, everybody out there in TV land.
Welcome,
Um,
guys. We are at episode number 22 of the PlayStation Collectors podcast.
that's 22, not four. Uh, I'm excited for tonight, dude. Remember we had Miguel on? He said that it was my group was the inspiration for his.
Yeah.
This guy, his groups were my inspiration for mine. And
Well, with that, lead us away. Who's tonight's guest? Well,
Chris Schram of the Collectors of America group, and we'll talk all about it because there's more than one. There's a whole shitload of them. I'm not sure exactly how many there are because I'm only in the PlayStation ones because that's my thing. But without further ado, let's bring Chris on.
hey, Chris, how's it going?
Hey guys, good to be here.
Chris
Welcome to the
Schram's
podcast.
here. Chris, very happy to have you on. Like I said, I don't know if you heard, but yes, you were my direct inspiration for starting these Facebook groups. I bang my head up against the wall, and you're my inspiration. So hats off to you. You're the reason I'm here. So
I appreciate that, man. That's cool to
cheers
know.
to you,
Thank
bud.
you. Yeah, cheers.
Yes. Okay, I'm done licking your ass.
I
How
was
many?
enjoying it, though.
Chris, exactly. How many different Collectors of America groups are there?
As of now, it's changed. It's fluctuated a little bit off and on based on combining groups and maybe trying to fill holes that weren't getting um, fulfilled earlier in the lifespan of the groups. But right now, there's 26 groups total.
Whoa. That's serious.
Yeah.
So yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You got a 5.
We got 5
PSP.
now. Yep. The
Is your
PSP and Vita group are together.
Yes, yeah. So we did it, and then of course one for each of the Nintendo consoles.
Yep.
Or do you?
Well, the Wii and the Wii U were combined. That was one thing that we did last year or the year before, because Wii U is as cool as the library is and as fun as it is to collect for. It wasn't getting enough activity without Wii also being in it, and since it's backwards compatible, it just made sense to combine them.
Well, I was going to add
So
that.
that's now combined. Exactly.
And,
yeah, that's how I play all my Wii games for my Wii U.
Yeah.
So there's the NES, the Super NES. What came next? The 64? No, yeah.
64, GameCube,
And then the GameCube, then the Wii, and then
Wii, Wii U, Switch.
Switch. You got a
And
Switch
then-
group?
Oh yeah, for
What
sure.
about the
That's actually one of the
handheld
more
Game
active
Boy?
groups.
What about the Game Boy
there-
and the? Is it all one umbrella?
The Game Boy is all together. So anything Advanced Game Boy and Game Boy Color is one group. And then DS and 3DS are one group. So anything under the DS umbrella can be posted there. And then I got one for each original Xbox. So Xbox, Xbox 360, and then the most modern Xboxes, I actually elected to combine them too, because that's kind of what Microsoft is doing anyway. They're essentially trying to sell you an Xbox game now, not just an Xbox One game or an Xbox Series X game. It's here's a disc to play on our newest Xbox systems. Kind of, I feel like that's what they're going for with their brand. So I just combined the modern Xbox. I should probably just rename it to Modern Xbox or something like that. And then I got some obscure ones as well. So I have one specifically named Obscure Gaming Collectors of America, and that's for your stuff like Vectrex, 3DO, stuff like ColecoVision, things that are kind of hard to post in other groups. Then I have a Neo Geo group. I have an Atari group, and that encompasses the Atari brand in general. So the Lynx, the Jaguar, the 2600 through the 7800, the computers, all that kind of good stuff. And then I have my Turbo group, which is one of the more popular groups. Really great community in the Turbo group. Lots of guys who sell high-end stuff there, and I never have any kind of issue in that group pretty much at all. So that's actually one of my favorite groups, even though it's not one of my go-to consoles.
The Turbo Graphics is, I'm assuming.
Yep, Turbo Graphics.
I never played it. So, and is it just you? Because I know in the PlayStation groups, you're the only admin in there. You don't know mods. You know anybody else helping you out? Are you single handedly running all of them, or do you got some other dickheads helping you out?
So no other dickheads, just this one. Yeah, man, I've been. It's kind of a weird path when it comes to like the moderator and admin stuff. Because when I started PS1 Collectors America, that was the very first group, and that was in 2016, September 2016. I started with a couple guys I didn't know online. Really, they just wanted to be like, man, I wish a group was PS1 focused, because we were chatting it in another group, and I was like, that's a good idea. At that time, I only collected and only played PS1. Anything I got was immediately sold to go buy PS1 games, and that was my focus. And I did that for years, which I'm happy about because it is my favorite console of all time, and nothing has changed as I've played more consoles. It's still my favorite. But basically, after I made that with a couple people, they weren't too invested in it. So I ended up just taking it over myself. And about 3-4 months later, in 2017, at the beginning, the members of the PS1 group wanted a PS2 group. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. I can handle 2 groups, no problem.
And then
I made the PS2 group. Shortly after that, later that year, it never ended. Everybody was like, how about this group and that group and this? Because they like the way the groups felt. They like the way they were run for the most part. We do have a lot of people who don't necessarily agree with that, how I do things, but for the most part, people enjoyed them. So they just wanted different consoles of that same kind of community. So I obliged and ended up with the groups I have now. But the way I did the moderators and admins was kind of odd, because at first what I had in my head wanted to do was basically put one group expert in charge. So I had one moderator for each group who was a specific collector for that console. So Saturn, for instance, Shannon Widener, who'd been in my groups for a long time, he was a moderator for me in that group and did great things. Jeff Masser, I think, was in my Turbo group for a long time, and he sells all kinds of stuff. I don't know the guy personally, but he's got a great reputation as far as selling goes, and he did great work trying to get people he knew from the connections he made to come into that group. And then David Lee, I believe is his name. I haven't spoken to him for a minute, but he did a great job with the Saturn group. So there was all these people that lined up who voluntarily wanted to help me out. Eventually, I had trouble getting people to help me maintain it, as in they just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They didn't want to contribute, or not that they didn't want to or couldn't, maybe because they got too busy or whatever. So after some shuffling around, I decided, okay, maybe this isn't working out, because I have 26 groups, 27 groups. So I have this group of 27 people trying to decide how the groups need to be ran. And that can become a problem when I have an original vision of how I wanted to do them. And so eventually I made a group of 5, the Fab 5. I put down 5 members who really wanted to contribute, who had in the past, and they helped me out for a while. Then I ended up, one of the gentlemen wasn't happy when I reversed a decision to ban somebody, because I don't like to ban people unless it is a threat of violence, physical violence, and then if they scam people, obviously.
Yeah.
So I reversed the decision because he banned somebody, and unfortunately he wasn't happy about that and blocked me and left the groups, which was super unfortunate because I didn't mean anything personal by it, and I haven't spoken to him since. But after that, I was like, you know what, this isn't really worth potentially losing a friendship or members or whatever. I like to make friends. It's one of the reasons I get up in the morning. I enjoy people, so the fact that someone was like, nah, F this guy, I'm out. I was like, you know what? I'll just take the burden myself. If people don't like my groups, then at least I just know it's because of me, so they can deal with that. And I'm okay with that burden. And that's where I am now. That's why it's just me running 26 groups. I'm kind of happier that way, as hard as it is. But
So did you just tell the other mods you had, hey guys, I'm just gonna run this thing myself, or did you just pull the rug out from under them? Were they all cool with it, or?
No, yeah, I definitely communicated with them. I didn't want to be like, yeah, secretly ban them and try and be real sneaky or behind, the back door about it. But I was very open with them about it and told them straight up, like, I just feel like this is a better situation if you guys were just members. And I went ahead and took the burden on myself because there was too many disagreements because of how I run the groups. So because of that, I was just like, this isn't going to work as smoothly as I would like it to. And I'd rather just, take it by myself, I guess, and run with it.
I couldn't
Chris,
imagine.
there's some interesting takes from that. The fact that you got so many groups with just one person running it, it makes your groups consistent.
Yeah.
Like if you decide to do one thing in one group, it's going to be the same throughout 27. Where if you had 27 people running it, every group's going to be a little bit different. And then if you collect for every system, you're going to be like, this doesn't feel like the one group. This feels like I'm in 20 groups where, you've got one collector who collects for 10, 15 systems. He feels like he's just in the one group where it's just different things. And I'm sure that's your vision behind it.
Yeah, exactly. I want you to be able to.
Sorry. I was just going to say that today.
You go. Sorry, Biggsy. I apologize, man. There's a delay.
I was just going to say.
No,
I'm kidding. I wasn't going to say shit.
I was just going to say that the vision was exactly that, to be able to let you customize your own personal feed based on those groups. If you want to be in 15, that's cool. But if you only want to be in the PlayStation ones, like Will, for instance, then you get PlayStation content on your Facebook page. And you don't have to worry about Nintendo or Turbo or all this nonsense that you just don't care about. And I thought, since there's so many general groups out there, it was kind of filling a hole that wasn't there in the Facebook community.
And when I made my group, it was exactly the same idea. We wanted a group that you could just find PS3 content in. And I remember the same time I created my group, your group popped up as well. And I remember being in the two groups, and they were both growing at the same time. It was really cool. It was awesome. But the difference is your main audience was American collectors, where we had the worldwide collectors. So it was really
absolutely. I remember that.
I particularly like the xenophobia of your groups. Go USA.
I have I've been yelled at a couple times because of that. Because I wanted it, Oh yeah, surprisingly, not in a joking manner. Because obviously, as a joke, it's hilarious, to think that I'm skewering gaming to be xenophobic, but no, it was just. Wanted it US focused because, like Figsy, he can take care of his area, and it makes it easier for shipping and communication. That's really all it came down to. So
also, there's so many collectors out there that just collect American, so it's specific for them.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Well, I was one of those people. That's another reason that I specifically made it Collectors of America, because on this side of the world, that's what I care about first. Once I'm done with the libraries here, then I, go into the imports for the library. But first and foremost, I wanted to focus on my region, because if I don't know my region, I don't really want to take on another region yet.
I get that.
Do you have any? Do you got any PAL games, PS1 PAL games, PS2 PAL games in your collection, or
not any PS1? No. The only PAL stuff I have, or they're not even PAL because they're English repros for the States, is on my Sega Genesis. So other than that, I haven't really dove too heavy into it.
If I had
I wouldn't collect NTSC PS1 or 2, but PS3 and 4 I will, because they're region 3. So if it's system region locked, I'm not interested in other regions. But region 3, I can play it on my system. I'll buy it. And that's how I
totally logical.
Yeah, I used to.
Just one thing I wanted to add to your groups is, you said you started in 2016. I like to know, back in 2016, it was a lot harder to run a Facebook group. Today, there's so much automation, which would make it a lot easier for yourself running so many groups, where you probably don't have to accept anyone into your groups anymore, because it's all done for you. And, certain words get said in a group, people get automatically banned, and it just makes life a lot easier today. So it's doable. You're certainly doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, the pre-approval is the biggest thing. I can, take to the groups and say, hey, if you're a member in this group, you're pre-approved for the other groups. So anybody who's in a group, for instance, if Will or yourself wanted to go join a Nintendo group, you're auto approved, so I never have to see your request. So yeah, that kind of thing makes it really easy because it keeps my request numbers to a manageable number.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
I lord over that shit. Anybody who's coming in my group, I want to know that, you know, this shit pops up. I'm taking the deep dive on their profile. I'm looking at their pictures. I was looking at their fucking 16th birthday party. Oh, I don't like what he's wearing. If I don't like what you're fucking wearing, you get the fuck out. You know, if you show up in my group and your name is
Fashionista,
Bing Bong Dickhead, you know, deny. I don't care how fucking well known you are, but it's just me. So.
No, I get it.
You know, your PS1 group. Now I'm not a PS1 collector by any means. I mean, I played it. I was there when it happened. I had my small collection. It came and went. Fresh beer. But the drama in this group, oh my god, it is so juicy. What there's been some characters that come through that group. Some I don't know, scandals that have blown through. What's the most memorable scandal from the PS1 group that you can recall? Since that's your baby right there.
Man, the PS1 group is so interesting because it's my baby. It's the original one. It's the one I dedicated the most time to, and is definitely by far had the most memorable drama, bar none. I don't understand what it is, but that's the way it is right now. The most memorable one, though, for me, he's gonna love that I'm trying to name drop and make it famous, but his name was David Michael.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
So I ended up banning the guy. He's down in Florida somewhere, and some of his groups are still in my group, and they like to troll me and other people about him for sure. Which really, it's not that big a deal to me. It makes me laugh. The problem I had was him lying to try and up the value of certain games. That kind of thing irritates me, like, because it's dishonesty.
Are we talking about the horned owl incident?
The what? What is?
Is it the horned owl? Is that the name of the game? Is this the same?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay,
that was the game, Project Horned Owl.
That's the guy.
I forgot what game he was messing with.
Yeah,
it's a light gun game. Pretty obscure game.
I haven't heard of it.
Pretty decent game.
Yeah, exclusive.
He was really dead set on upping the value of it, and that meant by any means necessary, including lying, even if it was in a joking manner. It was still like just him lying to people about it. I'm like, dude, stop lying. You're being a dickhead. Stop. And he kept doing his thing. He would make videos of the flower, which I actually thought was hilarious. Had he not been lying, I would have been laughing. I would have been enjoying the conversation. But it felt way too shady for me. And eventually he started spamming the group. And then eventually he wrote a very intimate poem about me and put it on YouTube about him sexually pleasing me.
It was a fan fiction, if I recall, of you and the admin of another group. Was it the Filthy Games group?
Oh gosh, maybe it was. It was him, or maybe it was Timothy Cormier, or one of the guys who had been in the group for a while.
Dude, I tell you, I watched this sexualized fan fiction about Chris Schram and the other admin, and it wasn't up very long because YouTube pulled it down, but man, it was tantalizing. If it would have moved, it would have moved if I was into that shit. That's all I'm saying.
It's escalated quickly.
It was well crafted.
No, but the same guy, he got into one of my my PS2 group. And I recognized him, and he was like asking these weird probing questions about game values and how to raise up or what games or you after, what game would you pay the most for, this, that, and the other. And I finally put two and two together, and I just booted him. And he's one by one appeared in each one of my groups, and each time, he's funny. I'll give him that. The guy's entertaining and he's humorous as fuck. But,
yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm not going to stick
around. If it wasn't for the shady
Yeah.
practices, I'd be all for it, man. It's some of the stuff is real well done.
I am currently trying to raise the value on a particular game. It'll make an appearance here later, but it's a meme
Okay.
at this point. No,
But I was literally going to refer that and say you can do it like a joke, like Will, where everyone watching knows it's clearly a joke. But you know, like you start buying all the copies on eBay and hoarding them all, and like you know, literally forcing the price up, then it's not a joke anymore.
Yeah.
You are manipulating the market.
I think this guy
amazing.
was sitting on a big pile of this game, the Horned Owl. I've never played it, but yeah, it's
Oh yeah.
never played
He
it.
said he had a warehouse of all kinds of games that he'd been assuming were going to go up. So he essentially was into the hobby because, you know, he was guessing on the rate at which games were going to go up in value, and then he was going to buy them all up and unload them before that happened, or during that time, I guess I should say.
The
I
original
don't know if it worked.
the original speculator. I don't track PS1. Did PS as much as I do PS2, 3, and 4, but did PS1 when COVID hit, did everything fly through the roof price wise over there as well?
It did indeed. Yeah, a lot of games. I would say, especially a lot of the $10 to $15 games doubled to tripled pretty easy. Klonoa, Suikoden 2, a lot of the bigger titles, except for Team Buddies. Team Buddies, for whatever reason, last I looked, stays around $100 to $200.
I'm not familiar with this.
I don't know why. It's a pretty fun game, pretty obscure.
A good game.
I say it's good. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't say it's terrible though. It's a real-time strategy Worms Armageddon kind of. So a team-based real-time strategy cartoon action game. It's top down.
It sounds alright.
You know,
but it's probably not in the like Castlevania-esque or like Clock Tower type games that have blown up in price.
No, not at all. But before COVID, it was one of the games that sat up there with Fox Hunt and, you know, the other games I mentioned, Suikoden 2, Klonoa, some of those higher end games. But whatever reason in your COVID, those other games kept going. All the other games doubled and tripled that are, you know, $15. That one stayed right around the same. Just one of those weird, maybe it won't, maybe word will get around again. Maybe we'll post about it in PS1 Collectors of America and it'll go up.
I'm not familiar with American prices, but there are certain games on PS3, for example, that were really expensive, but they haven't really done anything, or they've actually dropped in price. One that comes to mind is Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. That was a year and a half ago going for $150. Today you can buy a copy for $75. So there are certain games that have dropped in price, which I'm surprised by too. I picked one up the other day thinking, sweet, I'm going to double my money. Got home and went to list it and realized it's not expensive anymore.
Yeah.
That's got to hurt. Oh, good damn. It's not expensive.
Maybe called David Michael.
Yeah, maybe the reason is all the collectors who were going for that game already had their copies, and you know suddenly there's too many on eBay and there's not enough buyers for that time, and it just so happened that there were more sellers than buyers for 6 months, and it's dropped the price. Who knows?
I still think there's a second coming for the PS3. Because COVID didn't really do much for the pricing. It did a little for PS3, but the closure of the store that really lit a fire under the PS3's ass, and that shit's finally wearing off. But that the store closing is imminent. It's still going to come as soon as goddamn PS.
Yeah.
They can figure out how to stream a PS5, or as soon as they figure out how to download a PS3 game to play on the PS5, and then the PS3 store is gone kaput. And not to mention the PS3 console, it's also ripe. Everybody, it's hitting that nostalgia sweet spot, which all consoles eventually go through, or retro consoles. I don't know. Is PS3 retro yet?
20 years, so
We're
2026, 27. We got like 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5.
Well, I actually read something interesting this morning. Someone was saying that they were trying to play digital PS3 games on their PS3 and they weren't working.
Really?
Yeah.
Games that they have already,
games that they purchased weren't working on the PS3.
Now I've seen people gripe that they purchase a game just purchased the game and they can't figure it out. They can't figure out how to play it. I've seen that. I've seen people try to re-download shit they already have. But are we talking games that just downloaded or something that's been sitting on their hard drive ready to go?
I glanced over it this morning. It was one of those things where I'm just scrolling through, but it was someone had games on their console they'd purchased and they couldn't play them, and they had the same copy physically, and the physical copy was still working, obviously. So like the digital copy is not working anymore. That's a problem. You know, this person's paid money for a fucking game. It should work forever.
Oh, yeah,
like you're not renting it, you're buying it.
You got to remember those licenses do run out. I mean, all those games, digital games, they have an expiration date. So, do you own them? Are you borrowing them? I don't know how the fucking shit goes.
I wonder if there's a consumer law when you purchase something that it should last and it shouldn't expire like that.
There's going to be a big stink here at some point. I think we're going to see. It's usually the people over in the UK who sue you, who end up suing Sony. So we'll see what happens there.
You know, when you do buy a game on the store, and you've got to like scroll through an entire page of script, you're probably like agreeing to keep up rights to the game if they ever lose it.
For sure,
things like that.
Yeah, you're agreeing to donate your sperm and shit. You don't even know that shit. Chris, you have a YouTube channel. Are you still pushing that thing? Are you still pumping out content? Because I'll be honest, I haven't watched it in a minute.
No, rightfully so, because I haven't pumped out content in a minute. Yeah, I've flirted with a couple ideas. I thought about streaming on YouTube, but I've never streamed before, and there's so many streamers out there. I don't know that I have a foot in the door to even bother doing that. Who's going to watch the stream? Give it a go. Yeah, that might be what I have to do, you know. I did want to start a series that I have things on my computer, but I've never uploaded anything. I want to call it Future Proof. And essentially what it is modern gaming, playing it without any internet, any updates, playing the game through to see how it holds up without that stuff, to see if it's actually a collectible game, to see what content is missing without patches and things like that. That seems like it would be fun and useful. And I've done that with like Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. For instance, PS5 doesn't have DLC on disc, but it has it on the PS4. It gives you an actual DLC disc. The PS5 is a code. So as far as collectability goes, the PS4 version is the one you would want to collect because you get the DLC on the disc. The PS5 version is not your future-proof version. So I thought there would be, you know, a mild success with that kind of direction.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was
really
originally
curious.
Yeah, I think it could work, you know, for a lot of people, especially because you could do it with every modern console. Switch especially is very collectible because it's a cartridge-based system. So a lot of, you know, and it's Nintendo, and Nintendo people love their Nintendo. So,
oh God,
you know, there's potential there, but I kind of stopped doing the unboxings for now. I have a ton of them unboxed on my computer. I just haven't uploaded them because I might be turning that into a future-proof series instead of just unboxing to see what comes with it.
Well, hopefully we can drive some dickheads over there to watch your shit. Let them know what. Chris, I say dickheads. It's a term of endearment the way I use it. I don't mean they're
of course
assholes.
Is there another way to use it?
Well, sometimes a dickhead's a dickhead, but sometimes it's someone. Yeah, it's a good old you dickhead. Come here and shit. But what's the name of your channel? Let them know.
Collectors of America.
It's Collectors of America.
Very brand through and through. Yeah, Collectors of America.
Yeah. One thing, I if you guys when you go watch this, if you're collectors, if you're hardcore collectors, your feelings will get hurt because Chris does open up sealed games on his show.
Sealed games too.
Yeah, so it takes a game, it opens it up, tosses it in the machine, and just lets it rip. And when I first watched a couple episodes, I was like, what the fuck is this guy do?
What a dickhead!
What a dickhead! No, but So it's called Collectors of America. When was the last time you uploaded?
It's been a minute. I would say half a year at least.
Half a year.
And the reason is because I've been working on my website. So I haven't even taken the time to really focus on the YouTube at all. It's there, has 100 subscribers, which is nothing, but for how long I had it, I felt pretty good about that. It was a very short time of content.
I'm one of them, and that's an excellent segue, Chris. Tell because I did check out your website. What's the website? What's it all about?
So it's collectorsofamerica.com, sticking with the COA brand. And the original vision for this was an easy access all-in-one master list site with a store locator feature and maybe some blog content from a buddy of mine who writes and myself, and then maybe some exclusive video content, potentially a podcast, a lot of vision without things in the works, really. So what I'm working on right now is the master list, because that takes so much time. So I have pretty much all the Segas done. You know, they're there. There's full list. And as I'm doing these lists, I'm also playing the games because I want to get very familiar with my library of games in my region, and I also want to play every game at least once in the world. Essentially, is my goal.
Oh shit!
So
even
a lot of these lists,
even the Japanese
lot of these
stuff.
lists, yeah, exactly. Eventually, after I do the U.S. region, which is why I'm so set on not going into imports until I'm done with my region, because then it just becomes too overwhelming, and I don't want to deal with it. But
lists is a big thing. I know. I don't know if you know one of the admins in the PlayStation 3 group and the PlayStation 4 group, Ricky Andre. Are you familiar with Ricky Andre?
Yeah. He's
Ricky
been in my groups. I've spoken to him.
Yeah, he's got a. Have you seen his website?
Yeah. He sent it to me when he was making it and wanted to ask if he could post it in my group, and of course I'm all for it. It's just another resource, you know. So
yeah,
his website was very thorough.
Oh yeah, and the guy's still working on it. Ricky, he's dropped off a little bit. He's disappeared. He's not as Ricky Andre. If you're listening, where did you go? But anyway, his list, his PS3. There's a PS3 list right there. I know Figsy. He's got his own list. Figsy, you have a complete PAL list posted up in your group. Is that correct?
For PS3. Well, yes, but that's sort of what leads me to another question, and I particularly wanted to ask Chris this because he works with so many different lists. I made a list back in the day which I thought was complete, but learning down the line and speaking to other collectors, I realized that no list is actually complete. Like, everyone's list is different. So what do you sort of declare as the list for a system? Are you including all the variants? Are you including like double packs? Is it just vanilla games? Because that's so controversial, because every system's got asterisks next to it, and you know, you can include this game, doesn't have a barcode, does that get included?
So the first rule for the foundation of the list is a game is considered one game. So if there's a double pack of something and it's two games that were released on the system, I consider it a variant almost. I know the SKU is different. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I wanted to make simplicity the goal when it comes to lists, because there's nothing more irritating for me than going to a website and seeing a bunch of text that I have to read through, and there's nothing drawing me into a game unless I click on the game and then I see all these pictures or whatever. It's just giant list of text, and I hate reading through it, because if you read something, for instance, on PS1, Martian Gothic, I mean, you can guess kind of what it is, but you don't know. So on my website, you know, if you're going through PS1, there's a picture of the cover, there's a genre title, there's a title of the game, the year it came out, if it's multiplayer, and it's kind of all right there. And then if there's a variant, I'm not considering another entry. I'm simply putting it in a slideshow format. So if you have a game that you want to see if it's a variant, you can go to that game, and then there's the standard release, the first release of the game, and then any other release that popped up with that game later is just going to be in a slideshow format as a variant. So it keeps the list kind of as concise as you can, but it still allows for the variants to be in there. I'm just not going to consider them part of a complete list, because really what we game for is the games.
Yeah.
So that's cool. A variant is there and it's fun for collecting, but the content's the same. Even if it's a greatest hits of a PS2 game, it has a few patches like Crash Wrath of Cortex has better loading and things like that. It's still Crash Wrath of Cortex. Like I still, there's still 5 vehicle levels in the beginning and I never want to play it. Like it's still the same thing. So I'm not going to consider another game for the master list, because really what I want to see is what are the games I haven't played, not what are the variants I haven't collected. So the variants are essentially a secondary thing.
You're still giving access to those complete collectors that will get the variants, because they can then click on that game and be like, I've got this version. Yes. It's not on the list. I click on it. Oh, well, there it is. I can find it.
Yes. Yep.
Hey, Chris, you wanted you were talking about your YouTube channel before. I wanted to ask something, and you actually brought up a really good point about greatest hits games. And then this is something I always talk about. So with PS3 and 4, I'm a big believer in 10 or 15 years that the vanilla version of games aren't going to be the ones to buy. It's going to be those greatest hits games, because they come with all the patches on them, all the updates, everything, and you'll be able to put them in a console that doesn't have internet and play them. So I was actually talking about doing a series back in the day. So I'd love to see someone like play a vanilla version of a game without internet and then compare it to the greatest hits version. That's so interesting to me.
Did PS1 games receive did PS1 greatest hits games, were they improved? Like a few of the PS2's games were they improved over the original releases, like some of the other counterparts were?
My assumption is maybe.
Well, they didn't have, say, updates, but if a game came out with a known that there was a fault in the game, they would fix it. But it was very rarely.
I don't remember any games coming to mind with that in it in the PS1 era. That's why I don't know. Except for even Spider-Man 2, I think the Twin Towers were taken out in the Black Label secondary release. So I don't even think that there was a greatest hits of that. So yeah, I guess my answer is for greatest hits. Probably not much, but
wait, what's this about the Twin Towers being removed from a Spider-Man game? What?
Yeah, so as far as I know, I actually haven't played it myself. This is just from knowledge gained from other collectors. The game was released around the 2001 mark.
Yeah.
And when they released the game, the Twin Towers were in New York. And obviously after September 11th, the Twin Towers were no longer there. So they decided to release another version of the game with it revised and took the Twin Towers out of the game.
Wow. So there's a Twin Towers version. There's supposedly a Twin Towers version and one without.
Yeah. And the only way to find out if you have that version is to play to it. So I personally haven't ever played that far into that game to see, see it for myself.
Is that a collector's, is that a desirable? Could you say, hey, I got a Twin Towers copy of Spider-Man and it'll be worth more than a non-Twin Towers copy of Spider-Man?
I think to the right people, absolutely.
No, because it was such a popular game and made it's a $5 game these days. So.
Yeah, but you think of, I mean, if one version has the Twin Towers in it, and the other version doesn't. I mean, there's obviously which one's rare, which one's more common. I don't know.
Well, if you think about it, like on Genesis, Shinobi, Revenge of Shinobi, was it? I forget which one, but the Shinobi on Genesis. There's one with all the characters that were modeled after licensed monsters like Godzilla and I think RoboCop, and they got essentially sued or a cease and desist. And so the later revisions of that game turned the bosses into not those characters because they didn't have a license for it. And the original version of that Genesis Shinobi is more desirable for US collectors because it has all these iconic characters in it, and they weren't supposed to be in there technically.
Sounds like some Chinesey shit to do. All right, guys. Whoever's got 40 minutes in the piss pool, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the bathroom. Excuse myself. I'm sorry, Chris. I'll be right back after I go pee.
No worries.
I'll be right.
Chris, what could be the case with that Spider-Man game is it's possible that maybe only the greatest hits version got the re-release, or do you think they done a black
So
label again?
it was the black label because I'm pretty sure it's actually Spider-Man 2. Just to clarify, I believe it's Spider-Man 2. I may be misremembering, but I want to say it was the black label, which is why you can't tell which version it is. Now, if there was a greatest hits of that, more than likely it's not in there because it was after the second black label release. So as far as PAL goes too, I don't.
I would say it's Spider-Man 1 because this came out in 2002.
Well, it was
this is probably the
PS1.
re-version. Oh, on PS1.
Yeah. So there's PS1
Okay,
Spider-Man and Enter Electro. It was the PS1 versions. So those games are better though. I like the PS2 versions myself.
Like the Harry Potter games, how they remake the games again on PS2 and make them better.
Yeah. Yep.
So interesting because there's so many games out there like that there's some abnormality between them that is very obscure, but you just know these facts as a collector.
Yeah, you pick them up that's one of the benefits of the Collectors America groups for me is as I've made them, I become way more knowledgeable because there's like when I started PS1, I wanted to be the PS1 guy, as egotistical as that sounds. I wanted to be the guy that people went to for PS1. And then Jason Dvorak joined my group and I'm like, oh, well, he is that guy. No one needs that guy again. He's that guy. He has gamerave.com. It's a great resource for PS1 collectors. He documents everything. He has a full set, including variants. This dude's all about his variants. And he's been in my groups for a while, and he's super knowledgeable. And you pick up things like that from people like him. So it's been a huge benefit to me as a collector and someone who sells video games, or used to, I should say. I don't do much anymore, but.
And I bet he still learns stuff from the group as well, which is the best part.
For sure. And he since he's so obsessed with variants, when someone posts a weird variant, when that time comes again, he's going to see it and lose his mind because, years of investment into the hobby. And then finally, after he thought he had everything, there's another one there, so that's got to be an exciting feeling for somebody who's so invested. So I'm sure when that time comes, he'll be excited.
Funny you say that. I actually sent Ricky a photo the other day of a game he hadn't seen before. So that was a nice feeling.
Yeah, for sure. See, exactly.
It's what are we 2022, and we've got like master lists done, and games are still popping up that we've never seen before.
Yep.
So
yep.
You could almost
that's
argue
the hobby.
that,
That's the nature of it.
Go back to NES, SNES. That are any lists really complete? Because who knows what was actually made back in the day that you just missed that no one knows about.
Yep. You just have to kind of do your best and cross your fingers, like maybe I got it all. Because realistically, how many of us are going to get to a point where we have it all anyway? Most of us, I don't think, want it all. You might want one library that's complete, or maybe you want a few, but for the most people, who wants 50 consoles of complete libraries when they don't play most of it, or they don't even have the space for it, unless they got a museum, and that's different. But so the listers are cool, but
10 years ago, I would have said, I want everything. And now that I've got a full set, I'm like, I don't want a second set because this takes up too much room.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Unless you've got the room to store it.
Even then, man, just imagine if you move out of a home or something, no. You have to move all of that. Like you're paying two guys in a truck to to move your collection. It's huge.
And that's why I'm going through selling all my collector's editions, because I'm like, if I ever want to move this, I can move all the single games with like 50 boxes, but it's going to be 50 boxes for like those 50 collector's editions. That's not reasonable. You can't be doing that.
No, you don't want to. That's for sure.
Yeah, and if one gets damaged, value's gone.
Oh gosh, I know. Especially with the collector's edition, I had probably a peak of around 500 games on PS1 when I was going to go for a full set. So I decided the most logical thing to do was to play everything and keep what I like. And that's resulted in me having a way slimmed down collection, but being a lot more knowledgeable about the games themselves. So since I've approached collecting that way, I've enjoyed it so much more. So I was happy to sell, 400 PS1 games once I, and it wasn't filler stuff either. I had everything that was desirable on the system for the most part. I mean, there's 1,297 games on the system in the US library. So I had less than half, but I mean, half of it is filler, if not more than that. So
all systems are going to be full of filler stuff, especially if they're made back in the 90s. That's a great question to lead into, Chris. Tell us about your collection, your current collection.
Yeah, so as of now, I have 260 games. So it's really not that impressive from a number. Yeah, right here. That's it on that wall right there. I've played way more games than I own because I'm very, very picky about what I keep on my shelf. I want to be able to go to my shelf, kind of like my website. I want simplicity to kind of be the foundation of it. I want to go to my shelf, and every game I see, I want to be like, oh yeah, that game is incredible. I would play that again right now. If I can't replay a game, I don't know that I want it on my shelf. Even though collecting is fun and I enjoy it, it's not worth it to me to have a game there, look at it, and be like, man, do I like that game? And then play it to find out if I like it. I want to already know that I like the game. So because of that, the thousands of video games that I've played, I end up with 260 right now. I think my wish list is about 70. So we're starting to push into 350 games. And I've played all the Sega libraries except Dreamcast. I've played every game in each library. So the Sega's almost essentially done. PS1, I've played every game. And PS2, I've played a large majority. I'm lacking on the newer systems and PS3. But, those are huge libraries. So I'll get to them when I get to them. Fact is, I'm going to die one day. So just keep chugging along, hoping I make it.
That's very practical. You just want games on your shelf that you know are good and that you'll want to replay.
I want it to be a reflection of myself. Like if you look at my shelf, I don't need you to like every game. I want me to like every game and you to say, oh, that's Chris's shelf, because there's that one game I like and that one game that sucks that he likes for some reason. I enjoy that.
Does that mean there's no seal games on your shelf, Chris?
No. If they were sealed, they're open now. I did open Gigawing on Dreamcast for the YouTube, and that's one of my favorite shoot 'em ups. So that's on my shelf, and now I have an extremely mint copy of Gigawing that I can also play, which is awesome. Nice. If I can get a game sealed that I like and open it up for the YouTube, that's a double win, because I get to open a game and keep one. That's really nice now.
So how many different consoles are sitting on your or console games are sitting on your shelf?
There's 260 total.
No, I mean, how many different consoles? I mean, PS1.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, PS1 through 5 and PSP. Then Sega Genesis, 32X, Sega CD, Saturn, and Dreamcast. No Master System, because the library is a PAL library. The US library is pretty much god awful, if I'm being honest with you. It is not my thing. Sorry to the Master System collectors, but Sega's Master System in the US just didn't do it for me. So I skipped any game on that. Don't have one for that. Played that library though. Then I have Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, Wii U. No Nintendo handhelds yet. And then, I got a little bit of Xbox 360, and Switch is actually one of my favorite Nintendo consoles to collect and play. And that's everything.
No.
I got a Turbo CD game.
That was my question. Turbo CD.
Lords of Thunder.
Nice.
It's actually down here because I might end up selling it.
So we're speaking of selling. Did you you had a store at one point? Is that if I'm not mistaken? A brick and mortar.
I did, yeah. I had the Collectors of America. Sorry, Will, I cut you off.
No, you're right. That was my next question. What'd you name the thing?
I wanted to stick with the COA brand as incessantly as possible. It was a Collectors of America Gaming Lounge.
Oh shit!
So, Yeah, just a place to come play games, and then you could pay $5 and get in and play anything in store. Very small location, but it was a start. And had it not been for COVID, maybe that's where I would be right now.
Oh
But
man, that sucks.
yeah, it was kind of it was a blessing and a curse. You know, the reason we shut it down, I actually found an old video of it, of me announcing that we were shutting down, and at the time it was only going to be for a couple months, and it was late 2018, or no, it was 2019. Sorry, I believe it was. Yeah, I can't remember, one of the two. I forget when COVID hit, so it was early 2019. But basically, I ended up closing the store because I had a job offer from the boss I was working with. He was a gentleman who was on Shark Tank. He got a deal with Damon. It was a company called VP Cabs. We built virtual pinball machines. So we had essentially a contract with the company that was a very large contract for a small business, and it was to make essentially an arcade machine prize that they were giving away with certain purchases for a big anniversary of their company. And it required about 80 hours a week from me, and it was a lot. And I'm the kind of person that very much believes in balance in life when it comes to work and family and, you know, who I am as a person. I want to focus on those things equally. I don't just want to work my life away. And essentially what I decided to do was to close down the gaming lounge with my business partner, Chris Kramer, who's also in the groups. We ended up putting it on hold because we both had job offers kind of at the same time, actually. And the reason I have this game room and this house I'm in right now is because of that job. The salary was so good. My boss was very good to me, gave me a bonus once we got the job done. And, you know, we killed it. But then shortly after that, COVID hit. So I never got around to opening it back up. And I still think about it every day. I mean, where I'm at down the road, there's a spot that looks wonderful, but you know, you have to convince your wife that you want to put in the work again, and she's not necessarily fond of the time it takes to start a business and keep one running, you know.
So it was a come in and play. It was more like a gaming lounge. It was an arcade, or were you selling games? Or
Yeah, because of the size of it, I wouldn't even call it an arcade. I would call it a little hangout spot. So it was essentially a store. That was first and foremost, because about 9 years ago, I was selling in the flea markets. That's how I started selling in the first place. I got a booth in there, and I was spending every day at the thrift store between 3 and 6 because that's when they put out stuff. So I was in the thrift store every day. I was in the Goodwill every day. That's kind of where I made my livelihood early on. And then I eventually turned that into a flea market booth. I quit my job and exclusively did that. I ended up leaving once my son was born to get a real job, and then went back into the flea market with my buddy Chris Kramer, who I had met at the market actually while I was selling the first time. We became really good friends, and we ended up going into it together, and a store popped up, a little storefront, and that was essentially what we went into. And we had a couple TVs in there. I built a Guitar Hero stand and a light gun stand so people could play that. We had a couple cartridges with full libraries. So if you wanted to play an N64 game, you could go play it on the N64 TV and little things like that. And then it was mostly a store. We were really limited on space, and because we were limited also on money, and that's what it was. We were just going to try and build up from there. But life saw a different way. So we ended up putting it on hold, and it just never got back to it thanks to COVID and some other circumstances, unfortunately.
oh shit, man, I wish I had a joint like that here. They're just retail, you know, hardcore chain stores. Well, there's a couple mom and pop shops, but they're also chains. I got a lot of grievances. I got a lot of grievances with these local guys. You don't.
I get it.
Yeah, you don't have any dedicated game shops in your town, do you?
We don't have any game shops, but we actually have a arcade. They don't sell any games, but they have arcade machines. They have pinball machines. There's probably like 30 pinball machines. They host pinball tournaments there. It's actually the place I sold my kiosk to, so you can go in there and play my old PS3 kiosk for free any day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool place to hang out. I'm friends with the owner. He's a really cool guy. But they don't sell games or anything. It's a bar. You go there and drink, you know.
Yeah, that's actually what I work in now. I work at a pinball arcade.
Oh, awesome.
So we have like 35 pinball arcade games, and I bartend.
Nice, that's awesome. It'd be a fun job, I'm sure.
It's a great time, man.
Chris, are you a drinking man?
Funny enough, man, I've worked in a liquor store. I'm a musician, so I've been around it, and I've never drank alcohol in my life, man. I'm not a drinker.
Get out of here.
I'm a damn good bartender, but I'm not a drinker.
None's ever, when you're pouring a drink, none's ever just whoop popped in, little drop on your lip.
Nope, nothing's ever happened. My buddies have threatened to spike me before, but I told them we'd have issues, and so they respected it. But no, nothing yet, man. I did promise my buddy Matthew Mutlu that if my wife divorced me when we got married 10 years ago now, I told him if my wife divorced me, I'd get drunk and high with him. But otherwise, nothing.
He's over there waiting for that day.
Oh, I'm sure he is. I could call him right now and he'd be like, let's get it, Schram. Let's do it.
I've been waiting for this.
Chris, what are you right now? What are you playing? What's what system? What game? What's on your what are you doing right now?
The two main systems are, well, I'll say three: the Switch, the PS5, and the PSP are what I've been rotating between right now. PSP. I'm about 25 hours into Final Fantasy IV on PSP. I got to the final boss on it today, actually. And got handled, so I have to go grind some. But that I've never played Final Fantasy IV. It was one of the only ones in the series I haven't played, and it is easily a top 3 Final Fantasy for me. I kind of resent 6 or 3 because of how much love it gets, and graphically at the time, way better. Like if you go back and look at them side by side, no wonder people love 3, 6. But as far as gameplay goes, pacing, the characters, the story, everything else, Final Fantasy IV is so good. I absolutely love it. So that instantly dropped to top 3 in the series for me.
So you say you're playing on PSP, but it's a PS1 game.
It's on PS1, but originally came out on Super Nintendo.
I'm ashamed to admit, but I don't think I've ever played a Final Fantasy game. I think I've started one. I've started 7.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, Chris, but I haven't played 4, so you've got my brain going, ooh. My favorite Final Fantasy game's a PSP game. It's Crisis Core 7, which is actually getting a remake.
Yeah, Crisis Core is great.
I love
playing
that comes out. I thought it was awesome. But yeah, it's coming out on PS5 next year, I believe, which is cool.
I looked at the date and I thought it said December of this year.
Possibly.
I honestly thought it was like December. Well, at least here in the States, but.
Oh, getting back to what you're playing. What are you playing on PS? Because me, I don't go back and play the old games. I got a whole bunch of them sitting on my shelf, but I don't really play them. But what you say you're playing Switch, and what are you playing on PS5 and Switch right now?
PS5, I just finished God of War Ragnarok, which was pretty next level when it comes to the writing and the acting, the character development, the gameplay. Pretty top notch across the board. I had very few grievances with it. I think the map is annoying. I don't think it helps you at all. So I don't know that I used the map more than 2% of the game time I played it. I just followed the bar at the top of the screen and it tells you which way to go. So if you want to follow a side quest or a main quest, it's there. So I would just use the bar. The map was like illegible to me. I couldn't understand it. And then the characters talk and they solve hints or solve puzzles before you can. It's almost like a race against them to solve a puzzle because they'll say things like, oh, maybe you got to shoot that block over there so the ladder falls. Shut up. I want to figure it out myself. It's super annoying. But compared to all the positives in the game, it's a really minor grievance. So Ragnarok I just finished, and then I'm currently playing Demon Souls.
On PS5?
Mm-hmm.
The PS5 version.
Chris, do you think that's a design choice because God of War is targeted for, I would say, the more casual gamer?
It felt like that. I think that's a fair assessment of it because it is pretty much the most mainstream PlayStation series right now. I mean, aside from your Call of Duties and your stuff that's third party, as far as first party goes, God of War is pretty much the most known PlayStation series, I think.
Apart from like
So
Ratchet and Clank or Little Big Planet, but they're kids games, so for like adults to get
yeah,
into something.
yeah, you're not wrong at all. I think that's what they were trying to do with it, was make it easier for people to, just keep progressing, which I guess, is nice of them, but it's also kind of frustrating if you're someone who wants to figure that stuff out yourself. But it didn't kill the game for me, but I would have definitely preferred without it. I think that's a fair assessment, though.
Did you play on a certain difficulty setting? I'm curious if they take that out in harder difficulty settings or not.
They got a hard difficult setting, for sure. I didn't play on it because I like to play usually on a medium the first time through, and then if I like the game and want to keep it on my shelf, I want something to do later. So I usually save the harder difficulties for extra playthroughs and things like that, just for personal fun. But they do have one. I think George.
You guys start talking at the same time and you both just shut up.
That's all right.
Just keep talking until the other one shuts up, guys. And then we won't end up with these awkward pauses.
There was a game that came out recently. I can't remember the name, but I remember it had a difficulty setting and then it had a puzzle difficulty setting, which was really interesting for me. I've never seen that in a game before. I can't remember the game title. It came out within the last 2 years.
That's interesting.
Sirens on my end. The game cat says you can turn that help feature off on the
Oh, really?
On the Ragnarok, I guess that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, it has to be.
Is Ragnarok on PS5 or is it?
It's on PS4 as well, so it's not an exclusive.
Yep.
But I would almost argue that that's the type of feature that you should be able to turn on. It shouldn't be a type of feature that you turn off. You shouldn't ask.
I agree with that. Yes.
Like in certain games where if you die too many times, the game will come up with like a hint that'll say, "Why don't you try doing this?" or "Why don't you try leveling up?"
Or they'll say, "You punk ass bitch, why don't you turn the difficulty level down?"
You're struggling with these puzzles. Would you like help? Click the box.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of hand holding. Have you played Elden Ring at all, Chris?
No, so the Souls one that I'm playing now, Demon Souls is kind of the first time I got into it. So I've played Dark Souls and it wasn't for me. I remember not enjoying it. I went and played this because it was on premiums. I think it was a free to download, or it was on the service, I think it was. And I downloaded it and played it, and it was just prior to playing Ragnarok. And I'm like, why am I enjoying this game so much? It kind of freaked me out because I was like, I swear I've played the Soul series and I did not like it. But Demon Souls hooked me on PS5. I actually went down the road to Half Price Books, and they had a PS3 copy of it. I bought the PS3 copy so I could play that and be like, man, did I ever play this, or am I going crazy? I've never played Demon Souls. And it turns out the linear way they design the levels is what gets me. I love going through a level, dying, and then knowing exactly where I was. And the level design is so good in it that I can run one time through it and remember the level. There's no need for a map or checkpoints or anything like that because they designed it so good. It sticks in my head, man. I was super impressed with it. So I went out and bought a physical copy thanks to the holiday sales for $30. And I'm pretty much guaranteeing I'm going to keep it on my shelf because after 3 bosses and 4 or 5 hours, I love it. I'm very surprised. So now I have to go play Elden Ring because all I've heard is that is the other game of the year. And I didn't think I would care for it at all. But now you never know.
I was going to ask.
Sorry.
I was going to ask which is your choice, because one of those is going to win Game of the Year. It's going to be Ragnarok or it's going to be Elden Ring. Whose hat do you throw your ring, or whose ring do you throw your hat in for that?
I have to go.
Yeah, you have to go
because Ragnarok. I have to go Ragnarok simply because I haven't played Elden Ring. But what I know about Elden Ring, it seems like they built the world really well, but they did it through lore. With God of War, it's a cinematic experience. It's like watching a 30-hour movie. And the acting, the voice acting, the story, the intimate moments, the emotions from anger to sadness to joy to just being depressed to all this stuff, I think accumulated into an experience that is so accessible but still super high quality. So I think you have to give it Game of the Year based on how accessible it is. Elden Ring, while it seems easier to get into than some of the earlier Souls games, based on what I've heard, it seems like it doesn't build the world in that kind of accessible way. You really have to work to understand what you're doing. And while it might be a better game for lots of people, I think God of War probably is going to get Game of the Year just for that.
Do you know? Have you said something about Gotham Knights recently? Because James Johnson says,
"Oh God, yeah."
James Johnson says, "How come you didn't like Gotham Knights?" James Johnson.
James, sorry, brother. I tell you what, man. James, I believe, liked it because when I ranted about how much I hate that game, he was like, "I think it's pretty good." I was like, "I'm sorry, James, I do not." I immediately was excited when the opening scene happened, and it was Batman versus Ra's al Ghul. Awesome fight scene, got me pumped up for the game, and then it was like I fell off a cliff in a bus in the mountains of Puerto Rico. It was horrendous. I hated everything about it. I hated the acting. The city was so empty, and the way people interacted with you. What's a vigilante doing here? And then I'd smack them with my nightstick, and they'd run away doing one of these. And I followed someone one time to see where they were going, and they just opened a door and disappeared into a black hole. And I was just like, what is happening here? Your grappling gun is like, it's like Ray Charles is controlling your grappling gun. You'll go shoot this way, and your icon is over there, and your character will just do a 360 and shoot the other way. It made traversing the city super frustrating. The combat was boring and clunky to me. There was this sounds like this game offended me, is what it sounds like. But man, I talked myself into buying it. I wasn't going to, and I ended up doing it because my cousin was here, and we played it that night. He canceled his collector's edition that night. He was like, "Well, thanks for buying it for me, Chris. I appreciate it." Immediately canceled.
Oh man,
So,
no, I'm a big Batman fan, but no, my girlfriend, actually, that's how I met my girlfriend, was through a Batman video game, and this was suggested to me. Gotham Knight, you got to get that, but there's no Batman in it, if I'm not correct. It's just, I guess Batman's dead in the storyline.
That's the intro video establishes that. Yep.
So Batman's dead, and it's just a crew of sidekicks running around. Is Harley Quinn even in it?
Yeah. She's in it. Yeah. She's one of the earlier missions. I got through about 5 hours of the game. Excuse me, before I went ahead and turned it off, never to turn it on again.
Did you buy it physical, or did you trade it, or did you get it?
Oh, I bought a physical. Yep. I wanted to unbox it, man. Future proof.
You do sound upset about the whole ordeal. I'm sorry.
I'm telling you what, it offended me.
Sorry, gentlemen.
Especially
I had a
because
courier
I
just
love that.
drop off a parcel. So.
Oh,
What'd you get?
You get a ring?
Games from Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Shall I share the goodies?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, why not?
I'm gonna take this moment because I got to pee again, because once I've opened up. Sorry, I've opened up the. You know how it is. And then I also got to get my home. I got to get my home. Yes, floodgates. Thank you. I also got to get my homework. I forgot to do my homework. I'll be right back.
Okay. Chris, I wanted to talk to you about Demon Souls. So you were saying you love the linear aspect.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned you were going to play Elden Ring next. I've got platinum trophies in every Souls game. Like, they're my favorite games.
Okay.
I would suggest going back to Dark Souls next before you go to Elden Ring. Elden Ring's open world, where all the other Dark Souls games are linear, and you'll really love the, going through to that next spot, learning, going back. And then, like, I found those Dark Souls games are going to get you into, like, learning the parries, learning how to get better at hitting, just learning the skills better before you go into Elden Ring, and then you'll approach Elden Ring completely differently. Where you're saying before, it's not the most easy game to get into. You're not wrong. If you are a Dark Souls person, Elden Ring is very easy. So
yeah,
like, you're certainly not wrong.
I'll have to think about how I want to approach it then, because for whatever reason, maybe I'm losing my mind, but I remember playing Dark Souls years ago, and I just remember having zero fun. And it's not because of the difficulty. Usually, a difficult game is up my alley. I play retro games, and a lot of them can be punishing, and they keep me coming back if I enjoy the atmosphere or the music or something like that. And I just don't remember enjoying Dark Souls. But as I played Demon Souls, I know that I had never played it. I did mistake myself there, and so when I played it this time, I'm like reinvigorated. So I think I think you're right. I need to go through Dark Souls and at least give them like 4 hours each or something to make
This
sure that
might
I'm
be
not crazy.
controversial, but I actually know why you don't like it. I'm not going to say why, but as a Dark Souls person, I completely know why you didn't like it.
Well,
And
I'm curious.
if you do get into the game, you'll realize that's why I didn't like it, and it'll be like a light bulb moment. It's
Okay.
just one
All
of
right,
those
don't tell me
games.
then.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything, and it's one of those games that's best played all blind, best discovered everything by yourself, because it's those
Yeah.
like once you know what to do, it's easy. I can beat Dark
Okay.
Souls in 5 hours because I know where to go. I know what to do. You know, it's easy for me.
Yeah.
That first playthrough was like 120 hours of what do I do here? Do I do this? I don't know what to do. I'm trying to work it out, and it's realizing
Yeah.
things for yourself is it's actually you can almost relate it to like world life things. If you've ever had like moments in your life where you have to overcome something, that's how I can relate Dark Souls. I know when I first played it, I was going through like a bit of depression and stuff, and
Okay.
overcoming those things in the game certainly helped me in real life as well. And I know so many people out there that can relate to that, where no other games I can say have ever had that much influence on me.
Interesting. All right.
And I'm not alone
Very
here. Like
cool.
so many people out there will say the same thing about Dark Souls.
It's got a very dedicated fan base. I don't know that I don't know that there's a fan base out there except for maybe Sonic that people will stick to and tell you how awesome it is. Sonic, on the other hand, isn't awesome, so I don't know why they stick to Sonic, but whatever.
Yeah, you could probably relate it to like speedrunners who do like you know, GoldenEye speedrunners are just as hardcore and things like that. But you're
Yeah,
right. Like Dark Souls fans don't just play the games; they then go and buy the statues. And you know, you look on Facebook, go into any Dark Souls collector group, and you're like, oh my god, like these people are crazy. They may as well be
this is a
car
cult.
enthusiasts. Yeah, basically. I'm gonna get into this package because there's some goodies in here.
Okay. Video games, I'm assuming?
Video games and something else. So this is from my friend Addy over in Indonesia. Addy's a big collector, and he sells a lot of PS4 Vita games.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure a lot of you guys in chat know who Addy is.
Oh, Addy is probably in my groups. Addy and Agna or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah, Addy or
right.
Agna.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in my groups for sure.
So if anyone needs a seller in Indonesia, highly trusted Addy. Can't
Funny-
vouch for him more than anyone else.
Funny story about Addy. I blocked him because I thought he was a scammer. But I eventually I figured it out, and yeah, the guy's on the up and up. So yeah, if you ever need a game,
Cool.
Addy or Ag is your guy. Sorry, Addy, I'm busy listening.
Laying the hammer down, Will.
I'm a fucking dictator, dude. I'm terrible in my groups. Seriously, if you disagree with me, fuck ban hammer, fuck you.
That's
It's
why I
right.
get so much crap for not banning people, because people are like, you need to be more like a dictator.
This isn't video game related, but I'm a big soccer fan, so Addy got me a Chelsea jersey.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked, especially with the World Cup going on. I'm pretty happy to get this.
Yeah.
But we do
Good
have video
timing.
games in here too.
It's from Indonesia, you said?
Yeah, from Jakarta.
Knock off.
And wrapped
Okay.
like Fort Knox, guys. So it'll be
It's
another
like the
5
third
minutes
box.
before we get into this. It will be like 5 minutes before I get into this package.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna go to the chat real quick. I got a Schram in the chat. I don't know. He's probably. I don't know if he's. Is this your brother, Gary Schram?
That's actually the cousin that was in town when we played Gotham Knights. He's the one who canceled his pre-order immediately.
Streaming retro would be sweet. Yeah. What's this about a scarf, Chris?
Oh my god, he had to mention it. Actually, when I sent that Simpsons photo you guys did of me, a Simpsonized version of myself, the first thing my friends told me was, "How come they didn't include your scarf?" I'm a big scarf guy. I'm a big scarf guy. It's kind of my thing. It's kind of what my friends know me for. It's kind of what they make fun of me for, and I'm totally okay with it. I'll take it all day. See, where's the scarf? Luke's listening too.
I like that.
He's actually the one who asked why you guys didn't include the scarf.
There was no scarf. Yeah, I to Simpsonize Chris. I went on your Facebook and I just pulled a picture. I hope you don't mind.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah, I found the picture I thought you looked most handsome in. So,
well, thank you. I turned into the supermodel in the Simpsons world. I put myself next to Homer, and I was like, "Damn."
Yeah, you're. I was like, "Damn, you're a lot more attractive in real life than I thought you
would." Debating everyone with
That's
the
how
thumbnail.
That's how I suckered my wife in. I was attractive, but she didn't know what she was getting into with the hobby behind me. She's like, "God, I married a nerd." I was like, "Yeah, you did, but at least I'm a nice looking nerd." I don't.
James Johnson says, "Yo, what's up, fellas?" I'm guessing that's James Johnson. He runs the PlayStation Ain't Dead YouTube channel. PlayStation Ain't Dead YouTube channel. Go check it out.
Yep.
That's it was supposed to be a community channel, but it's at this point it's all James. And hats off to him. That guy is fucking. The numbers are up there. He's running numbers. He's running numbers around you, Figsy. Come on, man, you got to catch up.
I need to make more videos. I'm in Slack. I got some games here. They're all the same, but we got the
Painkiller.
first print. No reprint here.
Is that sealed?
Yeah, and there's a few of them.
A few of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jesus.
Well, there's only 3 because Andy's getting one of these, so I promised him a copy.
Oh, Andy, he's in here somewhere. I saw him. Videodrome 80 says, "Good evening, peeps." Videodrome, my God, that was a horror 80s horror sci-fi 80s film. That's I don't know how old you are, Chris, but I guess
before my time. I'm 91. Was when I was born.
Jesus, fuck you.
Sweet, I guess I can relate.
Yeah.
90s babies. Let's go.
Ferb's in the chat. Hey, howdy, y'all. Good vibes. Hello, Ferbs. How you doing? I'm just scrolling through. What else did you get in the package, Figs, or did I miss it all?
Just the jersey and the games. But I was certainly happy to get this one.
That's cool. Chaos Fighter in the house. Chaos for hire. I can't see. That's where were these stupid glasses? But on the program, we do like to assign our guest homework, and today's homework is 3 games. Pick 3 games that you find that are personal to you. Games that mean something, just more than beyond just the game itself, more than just, hey, this game's good. Something that's got a little personal note to it. And which Figsy, we're gonna start with you because I usually go first. What are your what are your 3 games that mean something to you, and why?
All right. I picked 3 games on 3 different systems, and they've all got completely different reasons why I picked them. I could have picked 3 games for all these type of reasons, but I thought I'd just do a little bit different. So the first one is the Asian 3D Collection, and what the game itself has no attachment to me, but this actual version does, and that's because my friend TJ actually gifted this to me. So I'm never going to sell this copy because it means more than just a game to me. It was given to me by a good friend, and when I look at that, I think of my friend, not the actual game. So yeah, it was pretty cool moment. I almost cried when I got this because it was like one of the holy grails, and he just sent it to me. And I remember like messaging him 2 weeks ago, like trying to find the game, and he just jokingly said, "Oh, don't worry, I've already tried that outlet. No, it's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, he's already bought them and like had sent me a copy in the mail. So
You,
3D collection.
You get a lot of you get a lot of hookups, don't you?
Oh, I do a lot of trades as well. So
No, I hear you. Yeah, a good thing about this podcast is whenever I get a game in, and because I don't know how it is in your relationship, but sometimes you gotta hide your games from your spouses or your purchases because sometimes you just spend too much money. I just tell her, oh no, this is a fan sent this in. This is a fan from the podcast. They just sent it to me.
Yeah.
What's that price tag doing on it? Oh, they left that on there.
Oh god, I hope my girlfriend's not listening.
Hope she doesn't appreciate my working.
Oh, shit. Hopefully she's not listening tonight. She's at work. But anyway, what else we got, Figsy?
So the next one was the final game for a full PS3 set for me. So I had to talk about this one. And that, of course, is Odin Spear on the PS3. Again, it was just the final game for me to get. With that, it's always going to be pretty special for me. I'm always going to remember looking for this game because it took so long to find, and I'm grateful to have it. It was the last game, so yeah, memorable for me.
There you go.
And then the third one is from my childhood. When I look at this game, I think of me and my brother growing up playing this. I can even remember the shop we bought it in, like the day we bought it, and that is Dark Cloud for the PS2. So this has got very nostalgic memories for me. I'd never sell this game. It's one of my favorite games of all time, but for me, it just takes me back to my childhood. I can remember, like I said, the shop that me and my brother bought this game in. I can remember sitting there and playing it. It was before the days of internet, so I remember getting stuck in this game and not being able to progress for years, not weeks. I'm talking years until we worked out how to do something. And it probably took us 4 or 5 years to actually finish this from when we bought it. So yeah, they're my 3 games.
All right, Chris, awesome. You're the guest. What are your? Yeah, he's showing the stack. This is his signature. He got to show the stack. what 3 games? What 3 games are on your personal list?
Well, I could have included a few different games in this, but I kind of went across the board, not just PlayStation. The first game I included was this guy, Killer Instinct. This was the first video game I ever played. So on Super Nintendo specifically. I think as a series, it doesn't get a whole lot of love these days, even though the Xbox version is a lot of fun. Killer Instinct Gold on 64 is awesome, and this is fantastic as well. But I have a very specific memory of my brothers playing this game with another gentleman, Randy, who had a younger brother who's one of my best friends growing up, and we played a lot of video games with. But my first memory of video games that I can look back on was them playing Killer Instinct, and I saw Fulgore bring out his guns and blow some dude away, and I was like, that's pretty cool, whatever that is. So that's kind of the reason I turned my head towards gaming when I was younger in the first place, was because of that. And then sticking into fighters, the next one's Tekken 3, because this is the first game that I ever bought with my own money. Technically, the one I bought was Greatest Hits. I got it on the discount shelf at a Meijer, which is a store up in Michigan, where I'm originally from. And this game not only was the first game I bought, but if the first game I bought hadn't been this good, this is a top 3 or 5 favorite game all time for me, even still today. I've probably beaten this game more than any other game. So the fact that my first purchase was such a classic for me and turned me on to gaming in such a huge way, I kind of got lucky, because there's a lot of people who didn't purchase this. They purchased, War Gods or or Killing Zone or something that wasn't good. And I managed to get this, and God, I love this game. And it has such a sentimental value to me because that's what I spent my money on when I was young. First game ever. And then the last game is the reason that I am now a Sega fan. Growing up, I hate Sonic. I hated Echo the Dolphin. I didn't like any Sega IPs that are huge. It was amazing how overrated I thought the system was, specifically the Genesis. And then I went to a flea market one day during those times that I was spending, 3 hours every day in a flea market. And there was a Sega Genesis bundle with Shinobi 3, which could have been on this list as well, Dinosaurs for Hire, college football, There was one other game there that was pretty common. And then there was a Sonic 2 as well. And then there was this game, which I could not see until I got home. It was a $9 bundle for the system and all these games. I cut it open, and this was on the bottom stack. Not the case. This is my complete copy, but the cartridge was. And I was like, Castlevania Bloodlines. I was like, what is that? There's a Castlevania game on Sega. I popped it in, and I swear to you, I didn't play anything for 2 weeks except Castlevania Bloodlines. I immediately was like, how have I not heard of this game before? I kind of got upset that I didn't know about it. And I ended up taking it to my brother's when I house sit that weekend and played it on his giant big screen TV. It looked horrendous, but I played it anyway because I wanted to sit right in front of it like a cinema. And it turned me on to Sega in general, specifically the Sega Genesis, which is now like basically 1B for me. There's PlayStation 1 and then there's Sega Genesis, and it's basically right there, especially when you add on Sega CD and 32X. And yeah, that game turned me on to kind of my collecting habits and focuses for the next 5 years after that. If it hadn't been for that game and Shinobi 3, because I popped that in afterwards and I skipped a day of work. Actually, I called in. I was like, Brad, I'm not coming in today. And I played Shinobi 3 that whole day. My wife came home. I could actually go out there and tell her right now. She wouldn't even know this. I told her I didn't tell her I went to work. I just never said anything. So she got home and just went about the day like normal, having no idea that I just spent the last 7 hours at home playing Shinobi 3. so now I'm a Sega fan. Oh, man. Luckily, I work for the coolest boss in the world, and he didn't care. I made my own schedule. But I totally like woke up that day, put it in. I was like, this is pretty fun. And about an hour later, I'm like, hey, Brad, I'm not coming in, man. And then Shinobi 3 for the rest of the day. So, Bloodlines started that.
I guarantee you're not the first or the last person to stay home from work just to play a video game.
You might be one of the only ones whose wives didn't realize what they did, but
well, hopefully she's not watching.
Today it's like, I seen you're online all day.
Yep. She's probably on the other door and listening right now.
Retromania definitely agrees with you on Tekken 3. It's goated. So, greatest.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. I brought 3 games. Now, 2 of these games that they don't exist physically. I like to get get custom covers made for some of these games, and this is a digital only game. But this Costume Quest, yeah, you knew it.
Yeah.
Well, this game it's near and dear to my heart because this game is I played this with all 3 of my children when they were little younglings, and it was the first game I played. It was my first family game, I guess you could call it, and it's just fun. I don't know if you ever played it. It's available on PS4, but I think it's a limited run, but it's like $100 game on PS4. Hopefully, I get it under the tree, but. I found this cover online and had a friend print it up for me, and this looks cool. I love it, and it's a great game. Costume Quest. My twin girls and my son. This is a decade before my 5-year-old was even around. So, Costume Quest. Do yourself a favor. I don't know if it's still available on the PlayStation 3 store, but that's where I got it. Maybe it's available on PS4 digitally,
Costume Quest 2 is on PS4. For limited run games.
That's the one I'm looking for. It's basically it's a JRPG, but it's made for children. And you go around. You're one guy's a knight, one is a unicorn, the other one is a robot, the other one's like a star, like an astronaut. You just go around and you got this costumes on, and then you transform into your like ultimate version of your costume, and you just kick some ass. And it's a great game. If you get a chance, Costume Quest, I highly recommend it.
Right on.
Now the other game again, another digital PS3 title, and this game is near and dear to my heart because I was telling you earlier, Chris, that I met my girlfriend playing online on a Batman game. And that is Gotham City Imposters. And it's basically a first person shooter, and you either a bunch of fake Jokers or you're a bunch of fake Batmans. That's why it's called imposters. And they're gangs, and and you just fight against each other and just shoot each other, and you got your loadouts, and it's been called a Call of Duty clone, and but it's a pretty good game. I played it I played it tirelessly for a couple years. Like I said, I met my girlfriend online and we started chatting each other up, and then eventually she's the reason I got on a Facebook for my girlfriend. So this is responsible for everything if you think about it. All the Facebook groups, everything, it is spawned from here. So Gotham City Imposters no longer available. It's no longer available to play on PS3, but you can play it on Xbox 360 and Steam. But it's so old, nobody cares. Nobody's around on there anymore. But near and dear to my heart. Now, you may think this is a meme, but I'm serious. Omori. Now, yes. Now this game, it's near and dear to my heart. It's not just a meme. This game is near and dear to my heart because
well, it's a retirement fund there.
No. Seriously though, seriously. I've never played this game, but my daughter, she loves this game. She's the reason I bought this damn thing. She's the reason I got this thing. She's like, oh my god, Omori. She's my daughter. I don't know. She emo. She's a little emo. She's
okay.
She's that kid, and she's like, oh my god, this game, I can't believe it. I bought it at her behest, and every time she pops it in, I just sit behind her and I watch her play, and we just talk. And then my kids are older. This is one of my older kids. She's 17. If you remember how you were at 17, you're shitty and you didn't want to hang out with your parents that much. And this is a bridge, and I can sit and talk to my daughter, and it means something to me. So there you go, guys.
Yeah.
And I think it's our official mascot of the podcast.
Yeah, if this is the game you were talking about,
Omari.
Yeah, I'm getting a little misty over here because my kids are growing up. Omori.
Time marches on, Will. Just gotta flow with it, man.
Guys, I'm gonna take a minute. I'll be back.
So it's funny you mentioned Omari. No, I was gonna say that Omari game I've seen posted in the groups, and the price has been going up. So is that the game you guys have been that you were talking about? Where he's like,
going, I think this will be rare.
It's actually working. Yeah, I've seen it posted, and I'm like, yeah, interesting game. And then I keep seeing it posted up a little more for a little more money.
Omari?
Yeah, it's working.
Oh shit. No, but those are my personal games. Sorry guys, I got a little misty eyed. I don't want to cry on camera.
You're good, Will.
All right, well.
Just keep drinking that PBR.
I had something pretty interesting happen this week, guys. I actually come across one of my all-time holy grails on the PS1 for a really good price and bought it. I've spoken about it on the podcast, so I'm actually really shocked to add this to the collection. And that, of course, is Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, the PAL version on PS1.
My favorite game all time.
Minty copy, too.
I don't think I've played a Castlevania game since the NES days, to be honest.
I love Castlevania 1. The first one's wonderful, but Symphony of the Night reigns supreme for me. And then Bloodlines is right there next to it.
Actually, that's not true. I think I started the PS3 one. I put about 10 minutes into it, and then
Lords of Shadows. Oh, I actually started with that too, funnily enough.
Really?
Completely different type of game. It's like Devil May Cry more than Castlevania.
Yeah, hack and slash very much.
Chris, what do you as far as collecting is concerned, what are you chasing? What is your what's your white whale, your Moby Dick?
Well, if we're not excluding the ridiculous, my number one game is a complete copy of Windjammers on Neo Geo AES, which runs about 10,000 or north of that. That is easily the most expensive game that I want because I also like to play that game. It's one of my favorite games. So getting that would be amazing. But in the realm of reality, because I'm not made of money yet and don't intend to buy that anytime soon. Let's see here. Shining Force 3 is the last Saturn game I need. Now that I've played all through the library, the only game that I don't have that I think I want is Shining Force 3. So that's probably. Oh, you know what? No, I take that back. TurboGrafx 16 Soldier Blade. Best top-down shoot 'em up I've ever played. One of the best soundtracks in gaming. So that's my number one. I want that, and that's around probably $1,000 as well. So that is quite a bit if I'm going to buy it straight up. But that would be the one that would get me going.
When you look at where you hunt, when you want games, where do you go to look? I mean, are you hitting the flea markets? Are you hitting the Goodwill, like you said, when you're trying to fill shelves?
So Goodwill, not as much anymore. Thrift store, not
Yeah.
as much anymore. They all sell pretty close to retail now, and it's kind of annoying going in there hoping to find something for a deal that you can sell later or trade, and you're just waiting to find something you want, pay for it anyway. So I focus all my attention on making connections with people because that's mostly what I'm good at in this life anyway. So the guy I work for, Brad Baker at Pinball Garage, his brother is Jesse Baker, who owns Arcade Legacy. And I've been dealing with Jesse for a long time. He gave me some inventory to get me started when I first started selling. So he has a really great store at a new location here in Ohio. And he will hook me up with games for usually really solid deals. He gives me great trade-in. When he gets stuff into, he can hold it for you, especially if he, has known you for a long time and trusts you're going to come get it. He's pretty giving in that aspect. And he's a world-ranked pinball player, by the way. Dude's incredible. But anyway, when it comes to games, I go to Arcade Legacy, and then Brett, I go to him at the flea market that I used to sell at. He now sells there. And he's been managing game stores around the Ohio area for years. I want to say 20 years almost. So I go to him, and he's got a fantastic collection. He's actually where I got my Snatcher from. That's on my shelf for Sega CD. Wow. So when it comes to games like that, yeah, I go to that. And then Collectors of America. There are lots of people who post great games on my groups. And since I'm an admin, it comes across my feed a lot. So if I see something I want for a good deal, people are really trustworthy because I'm the admin. So a lot of times they'll, hook me up and I get pretty solid deals, and grateful for every single one of them because now I don't do as much flipping as I used to now that I'm not selling. So I pretty much have to buy things straight out. So it's always nice to get $5-10 off here and there.
So do you feel that hunting in thrift stores, the Goodwill, and pawn shops and the like, you think that's a thing of the past? Because it's just the deals just aren't there anymore.
For me, maybe, simply because I think I get better results by connecting with people who want to sell things. People who do that for a living, or just other collectors. I just think because I've been doing it for a while now, because I've had so many games come through my hands, because my lists are so specific, it doesn't make much sense to me to go to a thrift store or a Goodwill, because the fact is the $20 flip that I might find or the $50 flip that I might find is cool. But the time it takes to do it now, I'm at a point in my life where the fact is you have to trade your time or your treasures to get things, period. Either you trade your time and get a job, or you trade the money that you got and get that stuff anyway. So the time I'm using to go do that stuff doesn't feel necessarily worth it anymore when I'm looking for stuff like Shining Force 3. I'm not going to find that in a Goodwill maybe more than once or twice in the time that I'm looking, throughout my life. So it's one of those things where, is it a thing in the past for everybody? No, I don't think so, especially if you're somebody who just wants to collect what you see. But for someone who's been in the hobby for a long time, that has connections, that is specifically looking for things, I think it's good to stop in just to see what you find. But I don't think you need to dedicate that much time to it unless you're a full-time seller of more than just video games.
Chris, you mentioned Jammers as one of the grails. Did you pick up
Yeah.
the limited run PS4 version when it came out?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's on my shelf. Yep. I don't have the collector's edition of it, but
the fact that you own that, does that sort of give you a little bit of peace of mind now?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Not owning the original version. I love the fact that they do that for $10,000 games. I think that's awesome.
It's wonderful, especially the AES, because it's already such a rare console. Especially when you collect complete, you have to be insane or rich to want to collect that console. And I'm neither of those things, hopefully. So I the fact that they have it on PS4 and Switch is a lifesaver to me, because I played it online for a while and got pretty decent at the game. I'm actually undefeated online. I need to play some more, see if anybody's still playing it. But
nice, that's awesome.
It's an awesome game. So
that's good to hear that you have got your enjoyment out of it, and you didn't have to put up 10 grand to get a copy.
Nah, I would not.
Yeah, I don't think no. I wouldn't spend more. I think the most I've ever spent on a video game is 150, and it was for what game was it? It was Haunting Ground.
Okay.
It came in the collection, and then it left. That's when I was going for a full PS2 set. That's when I discovered your group.
Yeah,
but no, I couldn't. $1,000 for a video game? Shit, no. I enjoy. I'll keep rolling the dice. I'll keep combing the Goodwills. I'll keep combing the pawn shop. I'll keep combing the Facebook Marketplace and offer up. But no, I don't think I could ever pay that much. Would you if you? Well, if we were all, billionaires, yes, of course we'd pay 10 grand for a video game. But actually, I don't think I could. Even if I was a billionaire, I don't think I could drop 10 grand on one video game. My brain won't let me. What's the most you've ever dropped on a video game, single video game, Chris?
So it was this year, and it was actually a gift from my wife, basically.
Yeah, so it's your money anyway.
Gunnack. Yeah, well, she's kind of my sugar mama now, because I'm a stay-at-home dad now. So I homeschool my sons, bartend. She got a full-time job because she was done being a stay-at-home mom after a few years of doing it. So now she's kind of my sugar mama. So if I get video games, she kind of has to know about it.
Thanks,
but anyway, yeah, Gunnack on NES was at the top of my list earlier this year, a complete copy, and one had not popped up on eBay for a while. And I search eBay all the time. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just browse to see what's there. And I sent her a copy because I forget what it was, but I had just decided, like, okay, I guess I'm not getting the game because something just came up. And I sent her the picture. I was like, can you believe this? Look what just popped up. And she's like, get it. And I said, what? What are you talking about? She's like, get it. Just get it. She's like, I'll put it on my credit card. We'll just pay it off within the month here before interest accumulates. I'm like, I don't think, I think I'm good. I felt like bait. That's what I felt like.
That's bait.
And exactly. And then she came home and talked about it, and she bought it for me. So it was basically a birthday, Christmas, anniversary gift, kind of all in one. Because, I mean, it's $1,000. We're not made of money either. It's definitely the most I've ever spent on a game. But luckily, it wasn't even me who pulled the trigger necessarily. It was my wife, kind of forcing me to pull the trigger.
Gunnet.
So
I'm not from. Is it a fun game, or is it just something you?
Oh yeah, I love it. I think it's the best early shoot 'em up. It's a top-down shoot 'em up. If we're going that era, I think that's number one. The only 8-bit shoot 'em up that's better is Soldier Blade. And Soldier Blade is next level. There isn't anything better than that, in my opinion.
Thank you for not saying shmup. I appreciate it.
So I think it goes without saying that your wife getting a really good Christmas present this year.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to Disney World next month.
Oh shit! Nice. What about you, Figs? I may have asked this before, but I don't remember because I have a terrible memory. What's the single largest dollar amount you've dropped on one game?
So I've done it for a couple of games. I've spent $440 twice and $450 once. So I'd say that's my Usher limit. However, recently I've been buying a lot of lots. So my figure's gone up to $1,000, $2,000, but I'm not buying one game. I'm looking to buy a lot of games. So Now that I'm reselling, I approach it a little bit differently. I probably wouldn't spend $500 on a single game again unless it was one of like 2 or 3 grails on my list. So
But
it's
what was
unlikely
it?
to happen.
What was the game, and how much did you spend?
So a couple of them. One is the Bloodborne Nightmare Edition. That was $440. We've got Aquanaut's Holiday, the Korean version. That was $450.
Oh wow.
I'm sure there were some more that just aren't coming to the top of my head. I know I spent £300 on the Demon Souls Prepare to Die Edition Steelbook, which at the time was like $440 Australian. So that's up there.
Yeah. Again, 150 is my limit, and much like Chris, I was spending my girlfriend's money at the time. Oh God, I hope she's not listening.
I'll just add to that. If I was to want a really expensive game today, I would sell part of my collection and use that money to buy it. So for me, if I was to sell $1,000 worth of games and to buy a game for $1,000, I wouldn't look at that like I'm spending $1,000 on a game because my collection's buying it. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
No, but you're not wrong. I mean, the way this thing is supposed to work, our collections are supposed to, and our hunting is supposed to fund the collection, and the collection pays for itself as it appreciates over time. Unfortunately, I got rid of that haunting ground before COVID, but I think that's now like $450. I think triple. 150 is what I paid. Yeah. But it's at the lower end of the PS2 Trinity, or whatever you want to call it. The how's it go? Rule of Rose, Kuon, and Haunting Ground, and then down here you got maybe I don't know, Blood Will Tell, or
Michigan Report from Hell.
What's that?
Michigan Report from Hell, but that was a PAL one, so that's our trilogy. Kuon, Rule of Rose, Michigan Report from Hell.
Yeah, I guess the
Shattered Memories could be there.
What's that? Which game? Oh, Shattered Memories.
Shattered Memories.
Someone today in your group just posted full. It was like their top 5, and they had Shattered Memories in there, but they didn't have Blood Will Tell, and I was like, well, I don't know about that. And but Michigan Report from Hell, I guess the Rule of Rose, the British version is supposedly more rare than the American version, but it doesn't fetch quite as much because I guess the Europeans don't care about it as much.
No, it does, Will. So the UK version was banned.
Yeah.
The UK version sells for over £2,000, which, and the last sale that I was aware of was like 2020 when the pound was worth more than the dollar. The UK version of that game is by far the most expensive, but you will not see it. There's very few of them because it was banned, and I don't even think it made street date. I'm not sure, but there are copies out there.
No, the whole Rule of Rose story. I was just talking about this with someone about a month ago. Is there's supposedly some child killing and some. It's about children. It's and shit got out. Word hit at the street that there's some children violence going on there, and that's why they all got yanked, and that's why they're all so rare. But it's not that rare if you think of it. If you can go on eBay and you can find a dozen copies, it's not rare. It's just expensive.
Where the UK version, I've only ever seen 3 copies for sale in 10 years.
I've always
yes.
It's a funny story about that UK copy because I was in the PS2 group, and I was going back, and because when it comes to PS2 games, I am completely xenophobic. I am completely collector of America, not collectors. I am the collector of America. I'm over there fucking waving a goddamn flag. Fuck you and your 50 frames per second bullshit PAL games. So I was going back and forth with this dude in the PS2 group, and this guy was it's just bullshit, and freaking thread this long, just me and this guy going at each other's throat. At the end of it, And at the end of it, I was like, dude, you know what? Would you like to come on board and be an admin? After going back and forth, calling each other fucking pieces of shit and goddamn your mother, this, that, and the other. After it was all said and done, I invited the guy to be an admin of the PS2 group because we didn't have a PAL guy, and he can't. Yeah, the guy felt the guy was passionate about it. And he's to this day he's still an admin over in the PS2 group, and God bless that limey bastard and his fucking Rilla Rose PS PAL argument. But anyway, that's just a story. All right, where are we at?
Finally, say this because if you go back to 2016, I was actually looking at getting a copy, but I wasn't getting a UK copy. I was going to buy either an Italian copy or a French copy or a Spanish or a German copy because at the time they were like $200. But today, if you go on eBay, you're spending like over $1,000 to even get like the German or the Spanish or the Italian copy. So it's crazy what collectors have done to go, okay, I want Rilla Rose, but I can't afford the English version, so I'll get this other region version. And even today, that's now an expensive game. Like you'll find the Japanese versions in a few years will be over $1,000.
Collectors are crazy, man.
Never played it. I heard it's crap. I put about 20 minutes into Haunting Ground. Never played Kuon. What about was the other one? Rilla Rose, Kuon. Yeah, those are the three. But yeah, that's. Are you what's your are you collecting PlayStation PS2 or is there anything you're chasing on PS2, Chris?
Yeah, not a lot right now because surprisingly, PS2 is my most nostalgic console. Even though PS1 was the first one I had, I only had about 3 games for it. PS2 is when I started to actually get into gaming pretty hard. So Tekken and some of the wrestling games and Downhill Domination, one of my favorite games in the system, the first Devil May Cry, all kinds of stuff. I have a lot of PS2 games. Well, a lot for me, considering I don't keep anything I don't love, but I am looking for Mortal Kombat Deception, the collector's edition with Sub-Zero on the cover, the collectible card, and then one other game that's not that collectible. I don't remember what it was. So I don't have a huge list of PS2 stuff except for Deception.
Isn't there? Doesn't that come with the sleeve? The Deception you're talking about?
Yeah, it had it was a book, if I remember right, that had like 2 inserts because it has a special features disc, I believe is what it is. And then the actual game, and then a collectible card and a couple other things in it. But I do like that Mortal Kombat for the 3D era. That's my favorite one. And that's one I actually want to go back and play. So
some there were some Mortal Kombat stinkers. What was the Shaolin monks?
That one I actually love. I have that on my shelf.
Oh God, I hate that fucking game. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a great game to someone else.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, for every game you're like, oh my God, this is a piece of shit. That's someone's favorite game right there. And it's
absolutely that is how gaming works for sure. The
ones
I didn't like were the earlier, but sorry to cut you off.
No worries, man. I'm about to shut this down. I got my 5-year-old just woke up, so I'm gonna have to go down and do some kindergarten homework. Why the fuck are they giving kindergartners homework? I don't fucking know. And
I don't know.
To ruin their parents' day.
Yeah, to make things harder.
But I'm gonna jump off here, Chris. It was lovely having you on the show. Learned a lot, and thanks for coming on. And if you're open to coming back on in the future, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks for having me on.
Be sure to go check out the Collectors of America groups over on Facebook, guys.
Yeah, it's just Collectors of America on Facebook, on YouTube, and also website. And so if you could, is it www.collectorsofamerica.com?
That's what it is. Yeah.
You can't get much simpler than that. All right, guys. Well, on behalf of America, good night, everybody.
See you guys. Peace.